Welcome to the Blooming League of Original Podcast.
Hello and welcome to Talk Musicals to Me, a new theatre podcast about musicals and their impact on people. My name is Caroline Sheen and I'm here to quiz some of the leading creatives in the entertainment industry about their relationship with musical theatre and how certain musicals may have influenced their lives in ways you may not even expect. From how they first encountered a musical to musicals they may never even have seen, let's dive in and introduce today's guest to open up and talk musicals to me. Talking musicals to me today is Maria Friedman. Now, I first came across Maria Friedman when I saw her performing I Happen to Like New York at the Olivier Awards, I think, back in the 90s sometime. I just remember being utterly captivated. I went straight to Dress Circle on my next trip up to London and bought her solo CD, which I played to death. When I started working as an actress, I was lucky enough to land a dream role in The Witches of Eastwick, and one of those witches, Suki Rougemont, was played by Maria herself. I was ridiculously shy when I first met her, but she is so down-to-earth and straightforward and friendly that there was no room for that sort of nonsense. She was incredibly supportive, and she continues to be because she's agreed to come on this podcast. She's an incredible performer and actor. She's been nominated for 9 Olivier Awards and won 4. Her career never stops growing and developing, and she has made an incredible transition into directing. And last year, the biggest hit and hottest ticket on Broadway was Merrily We Roll Along, starring Jonathan Groff, Daniel Radcliffe and Lindsay Mendez. And who directed it? Maria Friedman, of course. No stranger to Merrily and Sondheim, Maria has played Fosca in Passion, Mary in Merrily, the first ever Dot in Sunday in the Park with George in London, and Mrs. Lovett in Sweeney Todd. She and Sondheim were firm friends, and I cannot wait to start talking musicals to Maria Friedman. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast, Maria.
I had no idea you went to Dress Circle for my lonely little album.
Oh, I loved it so much.
That's so sweet. I didn't know.
All those beautiful songs and the stories they told. And they're not musical theatre songs, many of them on that album.
No. I mean, I love just music. Yeah, I love music, full stop. Good lyrics, good stories. Yeah.
It's your background though, right, Maria? Your parents were musicians?
That's right, yeah. My mum was a concert pianist. My dad was a very famous solo violinist. My brother was a violinist, very well-known violinist as well, led orchestras.
Wow.
Yeah, and had his own little orchestras, so did my father.
Did you have an instrument?
Yeah, I was a cellist.
Cellist?
Yeah, it was really funny because when we were doing Witches of Eastwick, there's a part for a cellist.
Yeah.
And I was too vain to audition for that because I would have to have played it live, and I was so out of practice that I couldn't face getting the cello to audition for it, not ever knowing that I could have mimed.
Which I think is what she did. She didn't play it really, did she? I think.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, she played a little bit, but.
No, that's what she mimed. But I was like, oh God, I'm never going to be able to be good enough to play that virtuosic cello part. So I'm going to go for Suki.
Brilliant.
Very funny.
Brilliant. Now, Wikipedia tells me, what was your mum's maiden name?
Well, Welsh. Llewellyn Sims, yes. Yeah.
Does that mean
yes
that Wales can claim you as one of their own?
Yes, 100%.
Oh, I'm thrilled.
Yeah, and she loved Wales. Absolutely. Yeah. Llewellyn.
Oh, I'm chuffed to bits with that.
That's very funny, isn't it? What a funny old mix.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And you were born in Switzerland?
Born in Switzerland. Yeah, my dad was studying with a man called Max Rostal, and it really was like Heidi. So we were up a mountain, a place called Halgrösli, overlooking Tun Lake. We had 100 steps cut out of the mountain just to get to our little house, but it was right up. It was 6 kilometers to the nearest shop. And once a week, we used to go up to the top of the mountain for Peter and the pigs to get our sausages. We were little wild children on a mountainside.
Wow.
It was absolutely extraordinary. I went back there. It's funny, you should not really go back because we've got obviously the odd photograph of this little log cabin we all piled into. But now that little log cabin is surrounded by other log cabins with swimming pools on the back of them. So it was like not the same idyll that I remember. My mum nearly gave birth to me in a taxi on the way down the mountain.
Wow.
Yeah, I was nearly born on the way down in a taxi.
Incredible. What an incredible childhood. So, this can lead on into question number 1. How did Maria on the side of a mountain first meet musical theatre?
I wish I could give you a conventional answer, but actually, we heard Chorus Line was coming over, me and my boyfriend, to the Drury Lane. And we went to get a ticket, got a ticket, sat down, and some strange thing started with no dancing of any sort. And we were like, it'll start in a minute. We'd never been to the theatre or musicals, anything. And we'd got a ticket on a Sunday for a show called No Sex, Please, We're British. But we hadn't really looked. We just got the tickets at the box office without asking what it's for. So we watched this thing. It was a one Sunday night that they were doing it. And we were like, where are the songs? Anyway, we had to go again. And then I saw Chorus Line.
So was that your first West End musical then?
Yeah, it was the first musical I ever saw. And it's so weird. All the things I first saw and fell in love with, I ended up working with those composers. So I worked all around the world with Marvin Hamlish 30 years later. I was singing with him on the piano. It's sort of weird. One of those moments where I felt like I'd been taken off in a rocket. I saw Sweeney Todd and I saw that 5 times in a row.
Was that Drury Lane as well, Maria? Was that the same?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I only knew that theatre, so it's the only one I went. I've always thought of you and your husband, you really know this industry inside out and are passionate about it. And I am too, but I fell on it in a funny sort of way because of my mum and my dad. And they were not snobs at all. But I never felt like I'd properly achieved something by going into musicals because they were 8 hours a day, my brother practicing to get where he was, my dad every single day of his life, slow, open scales, my mum, piano every single day. It was me. I was just like skipping around and then I'd sing a bit of a song. And I remember my mum seeing me for the first time in a chorus. She said, can you smile a bit less? Because I was apparently just like, she said, you just smile too much. I was so happy. I loved it so much.
I love that.
That was in the chorus of Oklahoma. But I grew to realize that the luck, maybe it was their influence, the way my heart led me to certain things like Ghetto at the National, where I was singing translated from the Yiddish songs that actually came from the Vilna Ghetto, which is my Jewish background. And there was something that really connected to my soul with that music. And then Oklahoma, one of the greatest composers ever with incredible lyrics. And then I had this incredible luck, fortune, that my first few things that I did in music were as good as they can be, in terms of quality.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Just wonderful. Sometimes it's that thing, isn't it, of people who are working with an instrument. It feels like that takes more practice than people who are using their own instrument. And yet it's still something we have to hone and have to look after. And, they can go and play orchestral concerts with a cold, with no voice, but we can't. We have to be very aware of that.
Completely right, Caroline. I grew to realise that what we do is really tough.
Yeah.
And of course, to do that 8 times a week and with total commitment and love. And I never found it difficult doing 8 shows a week because people say, how do you do that every day? And I was like, it's never the same because I'm different. And this is our equipment. So I might have had a good day or a bad day. The audience is different. The person I'm working opposite has had a different sort of day. I suppose if you're like me, I'm always looking for the detail. I want the detail of something. So the detail is always changing. It's always shifting. The big picture is the same, but within that, it's always a shifting sand. So yeah, you're completely right. It is like a marathon when you take on those roles. You have to kind of set your mind as much as your body to something, don't you?
I really remember that about you when we did Riches of Eastwick together, because I was, playing this lovely little role.
You were gorgeous in it.
Young 20-year-old
I
girl.
always knew you'd do wonderful things.
But we had that one little scene together, just the two of us, and then led into Loose Ends. And I just remember every night it was different.
Yeah.
And that isn't always the case in musicals. Sometimes you're working opposite people who want to be exactly the same and do the same thing every night. And that's how they get through it. And that's their process. But I do remember that. And I always used to look forward to that scene every night because I was like, that's the scene where we get to play.
Yeah, because you just need to look deeply in someone's eyes and you're connecting on another level to pretending. You're connecting.
Because you're both pretending, but you're being human at the same time and connecting.
You're talking to someone. You're actually having a conversation. Somebody else has written it, but you're trying to get under the level. I'm a great believer that thought travels, and it travels right to the back of the auditorium and out if you're true, if you're honest. If you're pretending, I think it just drops here and it becomes showbiz, which is also wonderful. I've done a couple of things like that, which I had a ball, absolute ball, but I'm still, I suppose, just purely for my boredom threshold, is that I don't want to do the same thing every day because I would go potty. But it's interesting then you have to then also have the discipline, not letting go the bits that really work. You have to land those moments that the writers have nailed into the story. And then around that, there's a bit of movement. But as you say, some actors can't stand it. Then you have to have respect for them that they don't want that.
Absolutely.
And you're not going to get anything from them. So you might as well not beat them up for not being what you need them to be. That's the whole thing about getting on with people.
Because for the audience, they are still doing the exact same performance they did the day before. So that's what counts, isn't it? It's what the audience gets, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
So question number 2. Having seen Chorus Line and in these fabulously grand theatres, well, Drury Lane, because you can't get much grander than that. Where did you first experience your first involvement in a musical? How did that come about and what was that?
Well, that was Oklahoma. My boyfriend at the time was a brilliant dancer. He did all the TV stuff. He would have been in Strictly, that kind of level of dancer.
Wow.
And they wanted someone to go on a 9-month tour. And if you were a good dancer, you didn't need to go on tour. You could just work in London and everything. And they really wanted him in the cast. And right at the beginning, he said, you should audition for this. I didn't go to drama school. I was working as a receptionist actually. And I remember just thinking, I can't audition. I loved singing. I bought my little piece of music, What You're Doing the Rest of Your Life. I bought that, learned it. And then it was an open call. So it was an open call for the auditions. The queue was round the block at Drury Lane.
Drury Lane again.
Yeah, Drury Lane. Honestly, isn't that amazing? Yeah. And I decided that I would go in because the thing is, it's really interesting. People might have always thought of me as pushy and ambitious. I didn't know the rules. And I came from a family who asked questions all the time. And it wasn't wrong to ask questions. It was right to ask questions. So I felt sick. I knew I wasn't going to manage to wait for another hour. I was way too nervous. So I thought, I'll just go in and speak to someone there and see if there's any way I could go in a bit earlier. I never thought that that would be a terribly outrageous thing to do. So I got myself backstage where they were waiting. And I said to the stage manager, I feel really, really sick. I am in the queue. Is there any chance I could go on earlier? Because my nerves have got. And the girl who was going on, I never know her name, she said, you can go in front of me. And I said, thank you so much. I probably didn't even say thank you so much. I was like, thanks. I had my little piece of music, absolutely honest story. And John Owen Edwards and Gemsy Delapp, when she was alive, used to tell this story because they couldn't actually believe it. Went on, put my music on the piano and said, play, and just started singing. But nobody had said, how are you? What are you? And I didn't know how it worked. Literally, how would you know?
Yeah.
How would you know?
Yeah.
So sung my whole little heart out, got my music, started walking. They said, wait, stop. I think we've gone out of sequence. What's your name? You're not going to believe this, but I've forgotten. I couldn't remember my name. I couldn't remember it. Literally total panic attack. They said, don't worry. What have you done? And my boyfriend said, whatever you say you've done lots and just say yes to everything. So he said, what have you done? I said, lots. And they said, what? I went, Maria Friedman. Anyway, so I left and they found out I was using my boyfriend's dance agency called Razzmatazz. And they called up, they said, look, she's really good, but she was incredibly nervous. We'd like her to come back and just take a bit more time. So I went back. And then John Owen Edwards, Gemsy Delapp, Ray Cook. John Owen Edwards is a well-known musical director, a conductor. Ray Cook was sort of a guru at the time. Gemsy Delapp, obviously the choreographer of Oklahoma. And she said, do you dance? And I said, yes. And then she did all this stuff with her hands, like doing, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, like that. And I just stood there and just went like that. And I just said, and then sort of ran into the wings and then came back out again. And I came back and there was no one there because John and they'd hidden behind the seats. They were wheezing with laughter, wheezing. And then 9 months later, I got the job because Roland said, I won't do it unless my girlfriend comes. So I got the job as understudy, no, not a line, not a step, nothing. 9 months later, I'd started the job, got the Gertie Cummings cover, then got Ado Annie cover, then got Laurie cover, played them all and ended up playing Laurie for a couple of weeks at the Palace Theatre in a 9-month thing. See, it's the spirit, isn't it? It's spirit that gets out there. It was throwing myself in, not being vain, not knowing what the rules are, not knowing what it is to fail, because I was already a failure. I mean, let's face it, it was a disaster. But 9 months later, we're in a pub. It was like go into the tech for the theatre, our first night at the Palace. And Gemsy was at a pub. They were saying, what's the worst audition you've ever seen? And she started telling the story. And then she went, oh, it was you. She told the whole story of this girl who just walked in and everything. I mean, I arrived in Wellington boots on my first day for rehearsals because it was raining and it was a dance rehearsal. I mean, it was raining. They were like, where are your dance shoes? I haven't got any. The industry is different now. I would not have survived, that people would have just got rid of me. But I think there wasn't that kind of polish that everyone has now. The odd bods kind of found their place. I was definitely the odd bod.
So it's interesting you say that, because my husband, Mike, always remembers this wonderful actor, Clive Carter, saying to him how musical theatre training in drama colleges is a relatively new thing. It hasn't always been the case that you go and train in acting, singing and dancing as a triple threat. There used to be drama colleges where you were trained to be an actor, or music colleges where you trained to be a singer. It's not always been a blend of the three. And so that's a relatively new thing.
Well, look at Lucy Arnaz in Witches of Eastwick. Lucy Arnaz would never have had a career if she had to be polished. She was just herself. She was such a wonderful, defined human being.
I think the same with like Uta Lemper in Chicago.
Yeah.
It came up on my YouTube the other day and I watched her, and she's just wild and free and, like you say, not sticking to the rules, which there's room for, I think. I think sometimes it can be polite.
The great thing is if you don't know the rules, you're not breaking them. You're not like an anarchist. You just don't know them. And I think if I look at my sister Sonia or me or anyone, we didn't have a conventional kind of upbringing or university or colleges or that we just walked through doors not thinking we weren't allowed.
I love that.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I absolutely love that.
Yeah. And it wasn't arrogance. It was just, well, there's a door. What's behind it? Oh, that. Yeah. My friend John, who ended up being the conductor there, he came up to me one day and he said he'd gone to the sound desk and he'd suspected that I was goldfishing, which is like miming. And he went, listen, there's nothing coming out of my voice whatsoever, because I kept losing it because I hadn't had lessons. So I kept losing it and I couldn't sing above a C. So I could sing up to C and there was nothing and then down. Yeah. And he just said, Maria, you're miming. I should ask you to go home. And, I said, I just keep losing my voice. Now, I was straightforward about it. I didn't lie. And he said, okay, what we'll do is build it up. And he let me build up my muscle. This is right at the beginning, right at the beginning when I was a receptionist. And instead of going, well, I gave you a job, you need to be able to do it. He went, we gave you a job. We took a punt on you. Now we're going to help you get to a point where you can do the job we offered you. And so he guided me through how to do it. And I worked out. I never stopped trying to work my own little funny technique out. And then the next thing was I could sing. But now that just wouldn't happen because it's all about the bottom line and the big hit, and you can't carry those. I suppose that's what happens when you go to drama school. That's what everyone listening to this will go, well, go to bloody drama school. Well, I didn't. So the world is no better or worse off for having me in it. I mean, I just ended up being in something that gave me such an incredible life. I'm so grateful for it, but I'm so grateful for those early supporters that didn't fire me, but helped me.
Yeah.
And no drama school can teach you what it's like to do it 8 shows a week. None of them.
No.
So I'm sure people go through real scariness at home going, that thing when you wake up and go,
yeah,
every day. Like, and you've got that big note coming in about 5 hours time and you can hardly speak.
Yeah.
That whole day is about getting up to that place.
It's so stressful.
It's so stressful. And you need so much chutzpah and so much courage to do that every day, knowing that whole orchestra is building up and then you're like, bang, you've got to come in. And if you don't, that's a lot of disappointed people who've paid a lot of money.
But also for young Maria in Oklahoma to then get those covers of Ado Annie Sophie and Laurie, both very different vocally.
Yeah.
You must have really been experimenting with where your voice is and what it could do at that point.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's because I'd always sung, we sung as a family, not the Von Trapps or anything like that, but you know, it was part of our language was music. So I had sounds in my head that I wanted to achieve. And so I would sort of manipulate my chords to make the sound I wanted. Yeah, I've discovered I definitely am not a soprano, but now I'm a soprano. I mean, it's ridiculous. I can sing high notes, everything, because when I was singing 8 shows a week, I was quite known for belting on big high chest belts. When you're doing that, you're putting a ceiling on it. Whereas now I'll choose in any program I'm doing, maybe 6 belt notes in, 6 really exciting things. And I navigate my way around all the rest. And suddenly, woo, this whole other voice came.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. It's exciting, isn't it, when you find something? I wasn't a soprano until I sort of tackled Mary Poppins, really. And I was like, oh, I've found a voice, because I wasn't singing Mamma Mia or Grease every night. Suddenly it was there.
That's right.
But what I love about you discovering that voice is your voice is so identifiable. And I love that about a lot of performers. If you can hear a voice and go, that's Maria, that's Streisand, that's Julie Andrews, that you're identifiable and it's almost like your brand, really. And I think that's fabulous. And you found it yourself.
Yeah, I was lucky I wasn't trained out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think, and I'm not just saying this, I think I'm singing better than I've ever sung before, because when I sing, I spend a lot of time making choices about what I want to do rather than just singing. I really hone what I want to get from the experience because I've got more time to do it.
Yeah.
But I used to be very anxious about getting lessons because every time I went to a teacher, they would tell me, well, you won't be able to sing by the time you're 40. You won't be able to sing by the time you're 50. Well, I still am. So you have to be really careful because teachers can be incredible and they can also change your trajectory and your confidence. They almost become these people you have to look up to and hold in order to do what you do, almost like a therapist. But actually, I do love when I hear people who really know what they're doing with their voices and are technical about it and what the folds are doing. I'm like, great, but I know there's a place for that too. It's just not for me.
Yeah. I think I know the answer to this one. Which musical have you seen the most?
I think it's got to be Sweeney Todd.
You said you went to see it 5 days in a row.
I did. Yeah. I was just thinking if anything's ever done that to me since. Yeah, I went 5 days in a row. I literally couldn't believe it. And I wanted to be the girl who sings the top D in Sweeney, that one. And I was in the chorus at home at the time. I thought, I want to be her so badly. I want to be her. And then cut to however many times later, I'm playing Mrs. Loppet opposite Bryn Terfel at the festival hall with a 100-piece choir and a 90-piece orchestra with Steve there. And the other thing is I went as his guest to the Met, just me and Steve, to go and see his Sweeney Todd. Like, how the hell does that happen to a little girl?
That's crazy, isn't it?
What was really funny, though, is that somebody came rushing up to us on the steps and they said, Miss Friedman, can I have your autograph, please? I saw you and Joseph. And Steve went, what? It was the best thing that ever. He was like,
I love that.
And he said, I loved that. I loved it. Because he was all ready to go, like, sign the autograph. It's like, not you, Steve. No, me.
I saw you and Joseph.
So funny.
What took you back and forth to Sweeney Todd? What did you get from that as a repeat attender?
Well, really interesting. Different things every time. I mean, obviously the part of Mrs. Lovett is one of the best parts ever written because it kind of encompasses loss, loneliness, envy, jealousy, wit, vaudeville, virtuosity, heart, very funny,
murder,
sexy. It's got everything. But obviously I was a young girl, so I didn't even look at that as something I would ever do. And it was Angela Lansbury. I mean, for goodness sake. I mean, that was like, it was just heaven watching somebody that good. Honestly, it was the orchestrations. I mean, they were off the scale. Just hearing an orchestra kind of come together, it sort of brought everything of my past and what hopefully my future was going to be in one pot, all that incredible music.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was brilliant storytelling, something that I spent the rest of my life doing is trying to tell stories. I really believe in them. It sounds really terribly pretentious. Stories as old as time, and they're really important ways of us practicing empathy. safe spaces for us all to have a go at understanding it, what it's like to be in somebody else's shoes, or to find your own shoes, find your own fit, not feel so alone, to entertain, to give you an escape. I mean, they do so many vital things in our day-to-day existence of getting up, trying to pay bills, navigate our way around complicated families, complicated relationships. Suddenly there's a story that can just guide you through the possibilities of transformation or understanding. But for me, it's all about empathy. I don't care about tolerance or acceptance. All those things are irrelevant. But if everyone had a bit of empathy, we don't have to like something. You don't even have to agree with something. Let it be and try and understand and move sideways if you don't like it. Don't try and pull down people who think differently. That's why I want to tell stories.
That's interesting, isn't it, about empathy? Because empathy doesn't actually mean liking something.
No.
It means relating to it and understanding how that could be something. I've never thought of that before.
You know, I will never know what it's like to be in Syria. I will never know. And I can't pretend to know. And I can't pretend to have, I think it's patronizing to go, I feel it. I don't feel it. But I can try and imagine. I can try and imagine what that would feel like. And then my heart is engaged.
Yeah.
And we close our hearts off at our peril. And I think our society is inundated with just so much worry and sadness and chaos that it's easy just to turn away, easier to turn away and to judge. It's such a quick fix. Judge, decide, condemn, move on.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's something to do with my Jewish genes, my ancestry, about understanding that you can't point a finger. You have to point it this way. You mustn't say, you did this. You have to go, I am capable of this. I am capable of terrible things. We all are in different situations, in different circumstances. And I suppose, I know this is not musical theatre talk, but all the work that people like you say, Adam Gettle, he's a real dear friend of mine, we're interested in exploring the human condition, the vulnerable, amazing, fragile human condition. John Weidman is another person who's interested in the detail, not the perfect, the imperfect, and how you make that work. And believe it or not, musical theatre can do those things. And Mamma Mia does another thing, and Les Mis does another thing. And then there's stuff that normally doesn't make anybody any money, but can do, thank you, Merrily We Roll Along, in terms of like, they can be hits, get them right. They can do all those things, entertain and shine a light.
Shine a light. That's the thing. We used to study a speech in college about speak the speech, I pray you. It's a Hamlet speech, and he's talking to the players. And there's a line in that says, hold the mirror up to nature. And that is in essence what theatre is and storytelling is and musicals can be, like you say. So on a brighter note, what musical has made you laugh the most? And which one made you cry the most?
Oh, wow. So laugh the most. I absolutely loved Little Shop of Horrors when I first saw it with Ellen Green. I mean, it was ludicrously wonderful. I loved it. And I also have really enjoyed a musical I've just seen called Dead Outlaw, which is hilarious. And it's just coming onto Broadway this season. Davy Yazbek, and it's just hilarious. It's hilarious. It's about an outlaw, the worst outlaw that ever was. And he goes for his first and only robbery and gets shot. And the lead up to it is disaster. I mean, it's a disastrous robbery. But then his body is taken to a funeral parlour, but nobody can pay for it or claim it. So it just sort of sits there. And then it becomes a kind of tourist attraction. And it's wonderful, vibrant, different sort of wild music. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
Oh, I love the sound of that.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really, really good. So fresh. It's so fresh.
Yeah.
What else did I find really funny? I really enjoyed Legally Blonde. I thought it was really fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was so much fun. Can you name a few? Tell me, what do you find? Tell me, see if I...
Well, I was just thinking, like, what you say about Little Shop of Horrors. I don't know if it's because I always sort of knew a little bit about it. I remember somebody telling me it's about a plant that eats people. I was like, that's weird. So I can't imagine going to the theatre not knowing that.
Yeah, not knowing it at all.
Yeah. And then suddenly this plant starts going, feed me.
Yeah. And also, again, it was somebody so odd playing the lead role. It wasn't like anybody that we were ploughing out into the industry.
Yeah.
It was this strange woman who was wild and funny and odd and quirky and eccentric and daring. And I was like, oh, wow, you can do that? That's so much fun. So much fun.
There was one I found incredibly funny, and I think I went to see that twice in 1 week. And it didn't last long, and it sort of came and went. And it was the musical of Lend Me a Tenor. Did you ever get to see that when it was on in London?
I didn't see that. No, I didn't. I heard really good things about it.
I was crying with laughter.
Yeah, I heard really good things about that. I didn't see it.
And I think Ken Ludwig has actually rewritten the play because it's based on the play Lend Me a Tenor.
Is it?
My friend Ellen out in the States has done Lend Me a Soprano. They've gender swapped it. So that sounds like great fun as well.
Well, this is how much I don't know about it. I thought it was a tenner as in a £10 note. No, like as in a tenner.
They're trying to hire this famous Italian tenor, but there's this case of mistaken identity. So one guy has to pretend to be the other one. Or it's incredibly complicated. I can't remember the actual story.
Do you think it's a good thing to put on?
Oh, absolutely. Should we do it?
Yeah, it's a good part for you, isn't it?
Let's have a chat to Sonia later on. See what happens. It was very funny. So, yeah, I don't think Lend Me a Soprano is a musical. I think that's the original play, but swap. But yeah, save our voices, wouldn't it, really?
I think I might have gone if it was that. I thought it was Lend Me a Tenner. I thought it... I live under a rock. I thought it was some dusty kind of like oompa, oompa, oompa kind of thing, because it Lend Me a Tenner. So shows you about titles, doesn't it?
Damien Humbly was in that, Lend Me a Tenor, who I know was in Merrily for you right at the start. So which musical made you cry the most, Maria? For the right reasons.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to think. There's been some that make me just sob. I think Passion. Even though I was in it, I think the ideas in that and the music and the agony of looking at love in all those different ways, the obsessive, the unconditional, the need to love, the need to be loved.
Had you seen it before you did it, Maria? Did you see it on Broadway?
No, I hadn't even heard it. And I wouldn't hear it. I heard the first few chords. Jeremy Sams was directing it and I wasn't cast in it at all. I was doing a play for the Royal Court. So I was never going to come my way. And they couldn't cast Fosca. So they were going over to America and I don't think they wanted to pay for whatever it was. And I heard these chords coming down from my sitting room. And I said, what the hell's that? And it said, that's Passion. I said, what's that part? He said, it's Fosca. And he told me about the part. I said, I don't want to hear it. I want to play that part. He said, you're not Fosca, you're Clara. I said, I'm not Clara, I'm a Fosca. Definitely not Clara, I'm a Fosca. And I used to put Rice Krispies on my face and come down going, and he'd go, no. He was like, no. And then 2 weeks before rehearsals started, they hadn't got a Fosca. And I was on tour by that stage. And then I got offered it. And I would not listen to the album. I just heard the first few bars of that whole thing about I read to live. You can work to other people's drum beats and all that. I was like, I've got to play this part. It was like a complete mission. But I didn't ever think it would come my way because it was being offered everywhere else.
I saw you play it. And I was sobbing. The end of that show, well, the whole show is beautiful. But like you say, the compassion and the love and the generosity and the light and the hope. Oh, God. I was with my friends from college and I felt like such a fool, but they were all crying as well. But I was like literally heaving with sobs.
Yeah, I was lucky because I heard about the production in America. Obviously, it was amazing and won everything. And Don Murphy is amazing. But I heard some really cruel things I couldn't believe. I was like, why apparently people were laughing. I was like, why? How could anybody laugh at this? And then I realized, and it's taught me something for the rest of my career, and I'm rigorous about it, is in the play, it says that she has 3 weeks. She's going to die in 3 weeks. And I thought, well, then you might as well shoot her now, because there's an inevitability of illness. So I changed it to 3 weeks to live so that the force isn't capitulating, it's going to the light. So you fight being ill, you fight the illness, you want the daylight. You have more life force, not less life force. And that was a key to everything I've ever done. If I see anyone playing self-pity on stage, I'll put you out of your misery. Bye-bye. Because the human condition is about the courage. That's what breaks your heart. Courage breaks your heart. Hope breaks your heart. No hope, bye. So it's like, yeah, but I learned from that.
And that's the thing we get told in Les Mis. James Powell always tells us in Les Mis, when he was looking after Les Mis, never feel sorry for yourself on this stage. For Eponine, for Fontaine, the audience can feel sorry for you, but you are keeping going no matter what. Against all these odds, you are keeping going. Like you say, that stayed with me as well. And that's absolutely right. And that's what the audience has to feel as well, isn't it? That, oh God, they're keeping going, even though it's inevitable, but it still has to have that impetus and drive.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Oh God, it was heartbreaking. Oh, dear me. This is my confession question. I have never seen a professional production of West Side Story, and I regret that. I will remedy it one day. Is there a musical that you regret that you haven't seen? Is there something you would love to see that you didn't?
It's a very good question. You say, lend me a tenner now. Oh, yeah, I didn't see Follies at the National. I was away and I heard that was wonderful.
Oh, it was.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was.
I didn't see it.
Have you done Follies, Maria?
I played Sally at the Palladium. There's only 3 parts that I haven't played in the Sondheim thing. Played all of them in Little Night Music, from the Countess to Petra to Desiree.
Oh my gosh, fabulous.
Yeah, it's so funny. I haven't done Assassins. I haven't had anything to do with that. I don't think I've even sung a song from it. I think probably all the Rodgers and Hammerstein ones, I think I've seen all of those. I think they're amazing. I've seen all of Adam Gettles, who I think is the voice right now.
It's exciting. I think he must be close to opening
Millions.
Floyd Collins.
And Millions.
And Millions, yes. Floyd Collins is in rehearsals, so that'll be very exciting to see that. I saw Floyd Collins when it was at the Wilton's Music Hall. Have you been there?
I did too.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I loved it.
It's phenomenal. And what a venue.
What a venue.
You've sort of lived through the golden age though, haven't you? Like seeing Chorus Line at Drury Lane and Sweeney Todd at Drury Lane and the original cast of Little Shop of Horrors. You were kind of coming of age in the theatre when all these incredible shows were landing.
Yeah, I really was. And you know what I've never seen and I really want to see and I will see? I've never seen Mamma Mia. I've never seen it.
I'm going to take you to see Mamma Mia.
I want to see it so badly. And I kept on going, but I need to go when I know someone in it. And I kind of missed the boat. I think they're all much younger than me and I don't think I know anyone. Yeah, no, I really, really, really want to see it. You loved it, didn't you?
I did. I was in the original cast and I understudied the lead girl in it. And it was a really lovely experience to be in a show that was a hit when we had no idea what it was going to be. 26 years later, it's still on.
It's unbelievable. And I saw the films, obviously, and I think, yeah. So I don't feel I haven't seen it. Yeah, it was just one of those things. I sort of just missed that. I don't know how I missed it.
I don't know how you missed being in it because you'd be phenomenal in it.
I think me and Lycra is not a great friend. I don't think. I want to keep my marriage.
See, what's quite interesting is the youngsters don't even have to wear the Lycra.
Really?
The mothers and the friends have to wear the Lycra. So we managed to get away with not wearing it. But if you play one of the Dynamos,
you'd look fine in Lycra. You'd look fine. It's things that, yeah.
Thank goodness for Spanx. That's all I'd say.
I think things are best left to the imagination. Maria Friedman in Mamma Mia. Better left. Yeah.
Maria, shall we have a little break and come back afterwards for the final few questions? Another podcast on the Bloop Network is Around the World in 80 Plays with West End theatre stars Lizzie B and Alfie Parker. We join them on the road as they tour the country with Dolly the dog, performing in shows and exploring the local arts and culture and, of course, the theatres on the way. And here is a sneak peek.
Bonjour! It's time to go around the world in 80 plays. I'm Lizzie B.
And I'm Alfie Parker.
And we're joined, as always, by our doggy diva, co-host, travel buddy, and fur baby, Dolly! So, what did Dolly do? This week there is no "What did Dolly do?" section, is there, Alfie? Which is normally your segment.
It is normally my segment, but it's not there.
But it's for an exciting reason, because this week we have picked up a hitchhiker. She is a bright light of the West End stage who has been seen in The Beautiful Game, one of our favourite musicals ever, Young Frankenstein, which also we both loved, Only Fools and Horses,
Which is an absolute bucket list show of mine.
Wicked. I've never heard of that one. Have you heard of Wicked?
Is that new?
I don't know. Must be new writing. The 39 Steps, Taboo, and more, including her recent stint as the Wicked Witch in The Wizard of Oz at the London Palladium. Have you heard of The Wizard of Oz?
Is that also new?
I don't. But today, she's conjuring up some wickedly funny little stories from her adventures in the national tours of Bedknobs and Broomsticks, Beauty and the Beast, and she was also perfect in Cats. I wish I could roll my R's. That would have been way better, wouldn't it? That was very disappointing. Perfect. That was much more. It's sort of Halloweeny, so it's fine. Anyway, luckily, tonight's the night we get a masterclass from this Cinderella, because mamma mia, it's Diane Pilkington. Hello, Diane. How are you?
I'm good. That was fantastic. Amazing.
I feel like some of the delivery was definitely questionable, but I gave it my all. I did it with gumption, which is all we can ask.
It was perfect. Perfect.
See, you can do it. Neither of us can roll our R's. Perfect. So, Diane,
Yes.
what has life been like since you returned from Oz?
It has been life. I mean, to be honest, it was a pretty big, should I say whirlwind? Is that cheesy? It was. I mean, it was crazy, crazy, crazy schedule, amazing people, amazing job. I absolutely loved it. But I was so broken by the end of it, like more broken than having been on tour. I can't even explain why. I was on stage for about 17 minutes, but I think being evil is really, really hard work. So I've just been, well, not just been, I have been being a mummy, and my little boy's just gone into year 6. He's really, I think kids really need to support this year. So I've been doing that. And going and seeing shows.
Been all the things we can never do when we're working.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. And I've been relying on the good grace of friends and ex-colleagues for getting me in to see shows, because obviously the other thing we can't do when we're not working is afford to do shows as well. So it's a toss-up, isn't it? You can either afford to go but you've got no time, or you've got loads of time but you're like, really, can I afford 150 quid to go and see that?
Have you seen anything amazing recently?
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, I went to see The Little Big Things. That was amazing. I went to see Diversity last night. I went to watch the lovely Ashley Banjo in Diversity at Aylesbury. And oh my God, that was brilliant. It was brilliant. And tonight we're going to go and watch Jersey in Sunset Boulevard. Come on.
This is what I'm so excited for. I have a ticket for a couple of weeks' time. I'm literally so excited.
Me too. I actually I texted Caroline this morning going, the day is here. So we're looking forward to that one. Bit of a date night.
Oh, and she did a really amazing interview, I think, on the One Show last night, where she was talking about being in theatre and how she's got a newfound respect for it and how hard it is and the amount of work, and she feels like she's like an athlete. So I think that's really good for people to hear someone like her kind of talking about it and being really honest about the amount of work that goes into it.
Absolutely, that's really great to hear, because it is, and I think we take it for granted that we do those 8 shows a week, and you bust a gut and your voice holds out, and you train and train and train and all that kind of thing until it all goes wrong and you get an injury or so, and then you suddenly realize how hard it actually is. Because what I find, and I'm getting on a bit now, so I'm a bit older than I used to be, things don't heal quite as quickly, and what I find now is that if my knee goes, then you can guarantee it won't just be the knee. I'll work on that, and then the hip flexor will go, because I'm trying to do something, and it's just really punishing, isn't it? Especially doing what you guys are doing at the moment, touring. It is hard work, but brilliant. I mean, it's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun. There's a great payoff, but it's nothing to be sneezed at.
Help me find water.
Welcome back. I'm Caroline Sheen, and joining me here today is the incredible Maria Friedman talking musicals to me. It's been an absolute pleasure so far, Maria. Can I crack on with the next few questions?
Yeah.
So, if you were Prime Minister of the UK and you could make a musical compulsory in schools that everyone in schools has to do in any capacity, which musical would you choose?
Well, it's an odd one. I think it would be The King and I. I arrived playing Anna from a place of thinking it was some dusty old costume drama. And of course, it's about a strong widow, a single parent who travels to a country where she is different and people are suspicious of her. And there's a political man. They fall for each other. They get to know each other from entirely different perspectives, except they can't be together. There's a huge difference, but there was an enormous love. And I just think those songs, where somebody's speaking and they can't understand each other because they're speaking in different languages. And yeah, I just think the center of that is all about difference and acceptance and courage.
Working through the differences, seeing people for who they are beneath them, the cultural differences, isn't it?
Yeah.
In my daughter's school, they had a Cultures Day and everybody was allowed to go in dressed as whichever culture they wanted to celebrate. So obviously I sent her in Welsh rugby t-shirt. Some of her mates were in Scottish ones. And I did warn her to say, I don't want to talk about the rugby to all the English PE teachers. In schools now, I do feel like they are learning so much more about different cultures than I ever did. And my knowledge of the Jewish religion is entirely from Fiddler on the Roof, because I did that in Amdram, hopefully learned a bit more about it since. And to get that familiar with those traditions and the Sabbath and the weddings and the dances and the history of what happened to the Jewish people in Russia, that's just through 1 2.5 hour, 3 hour musical.
That's right.
It's incredible how much it can deliver.
Unbelievable. And I couldn't believe it. I was just 3 months in a production that was in London a few years ago. And that is literally, Caroline, that is my family's history, because my mother was Christian, my dad was Jewish. And you would think this is something that happened over there hundreds of years ago. But my father's parents and family never spoke to him again after he married out, ever. So we had no grandparents on that side or Jewish family.
Oh my gosh.
We literally never saw them again. He was cut dead. They sat shiva for him, which is what you do. You have to mourn the dead for 7 days. They sat shiva for their own son because he was dead.
Oh my gosh, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah,
wow.
Terrible. So it's like what is so entrenched in people, absolutely terrifying, what fundamentalism or, as you're saying, Fiddler on the Roof, this beautiful musical. What I always worry about is when it's over there. So like I thought Anna in King and I was something over there. Fiddler is something over there. But actually, like all great stories, they're universal and they're right here and right now.
Yeah.
You can't even go there anymore about what's going on in the world, but
yeah,
it's happening now. It happens now.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And I think what's great about being in our country at the minute, there's not much, is there? But at the minute, they are being taught a wide range of subjects, and that's under threat in a lot of places. So that's really good.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And just in terms of music, bringing ideas, music opens up the heart in a different way than a play can, because you're defenseless against certain things. It's that universal language. We don't know why music does what it does, but it does. Suddenly you're more open, you're more available. And so you're being given an emotional feast by this experience that you can't shut down on. You're thinking one thing, but you're feeling another. So I always think the difference between a great play and a great musical is a great play is head, heart, and a great musical is heart, head.
That's a great way to think of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And The King and I, Anna, is Welsh. Yay.
Yes, she's Welsh.
I still haven't played her, but I really want to do it just so I can do that lyric.
Oh my God, it's such a great part.
I'd love to do it one day.
It's full of joy.
When someone asks me what's your dream role now, obviously I've played lots of dream roles, but now that is the one I tell people. So fingers crossed one day it will happen.
Yeah, definitely. Why not?
Is there a musical that has brought you close to ending your affair with musicals? Have you gone, no, I'm going to stop now. I'm done. This has put me off.
I have stopped a couple of times. I have stopped after a couple of musicals, yeah. Yes, I can't say what they are, obviously, because the composers are still alive and kicking. Somebody always says to me, isn't Sondheim really hard? I said, no. What's hard is doing shit. Doing shit every day of the week. That is hard. Having to dig down and pretend what you're doing has some bigger meaning than it does. I had children, and so I think that other thing is doing 8 shows a week when you've got 2 kids that you want to put to bed, and that show is horrid and people aren't very kind in it and stuff like that. It's torture. It can be torture. Let's be frank.
I think it was Jenna Russell said to me, when you're a mum and you get a job, you have to make sure that job is something you're going to enjoy, because if you don't enjoy it, you hate it even more because it's taking you away from your children.
That's right.
I've never forgotten her saying that to me.
Yeah, you have to be careful.
I often say to students when they're struggling with lyrics, if they're trying to remember something, they're giving themselves a hard time. I'm like, it's not you, it's the song.
That's right.
Because if the lyrics are good, and I think the same with the script as well, if the script is good, if the writing is good, it'll go in a lot easier.
I agree with you entirely. Yeah.
And I think, you know, like you say, giving yourself to something that you're having to really work hard in and exhausting yourself when you don't feel like it's nourishing any part of you is really tough.
It is really tough.
Really, really tough.
Yeah.
Is there a musical you would credit with changing you in any way? Like something in the audience or something you've been in? Have you ever gone to see something and gone, oh, that's made me see the world differently?
Yeah, 100% it was Ghetto, which I did at the National Theatre. So I'd done Oklahoma and I'd done Blues in the Night and I'd done, I can't remember, I'd done something else really fun. They were all fun. I was the lead in that. I had been part of companies before then, but then I was the principal female in this particular thing, which is an entirely different experience the first time you step up into that. I didn't think of it as anything other than being incredibly lucky. Auditioned 5 times for it, actually against Uta Lemper. Because I was a Brit, I got it, which was great. But the understanding of the impact that music and words can have on an audience, that you are the vessel, that you get out of the way of the material, you push it as deeply into your soul and into your heart and your head as it can go, and then you step back and you offer it as a gift, which is again something I do in everything I do, whether it's directing or being in something. I believe I am a vessel. My life experience is used in it, but only to highlight and concentrate the writer's work. I believe in writers and audiences. That's who I believe in. And obviously the writers need designers to get their work out in the clearest possible line. So Ghetto was that. When I stood on the stage and heard however many people in the Olivier Theatre, well, didn't hear them, total silence, and felt the concentration, felt and heard the sobbing and heard the stillness, I was like, Nick Heitler directed it.
What was it about, Maria? I'm not aware of the story of it.
So it's a true story about a Yiddish theatre group in 1942 who worked in and lived and died in the Vilna ghetto.
Oh.
And a guy called Crook, he was a librarian, he managed to find buried after the war tin boxes full of poems, songs that the people had written and left as testament as to what was going on. And this Yiddish theatre troupe encouraged people with the total knowledge that there was going to be, mass killings, encouraged people to sing and write music and make poetry. And they encouraged all these people to do that. And these were the songs that were left there. And they weren't just bad songs. They were generations of people who would have had amazing life as writers and musicians and whatever. And then they made a verbatim play with all the writings of this Crook, this librarian, and these songs. And this girl who I played, Hayala, she was raped and tortured successively by a man called Kittel, who was a saxophonist, gun-wielding SS officer who would shoot people with one hand and play the saxophone with another. And he fell for her and raped her. And then she had to sing along with her Yiddish theatre troupe to the Nazis every night. And it got to a point where she said to them, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to join the partisans. But the rule was if one person left, they all got shot. So she said, you need to come with me because I cannot do this anymore. So they didn't come with her and she ran away and they all got shot. And she escaped to South Africa and had a whole life and died 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
But among other things, it was her story, and it was several people's stories from that ghetto.
Gosh.
But the lyrics were translated by Jeremy Sands from the Yiddish. And there was a song by a 12-year-old boy who'd written this plea to God saying, where are you? You know, you've got to come and help us. And it's just things like that. And then just fun songs and dance songs and like the whole gamut, again, pushing for life. There was tremendous kind of vibrancy with the stuff that they were writing because everything was concentrated. So it was a remarkable piece of theatre. You know this as an actor. You meet people and they say, I saw you in this, I saw you in that, I saw you in that. That is singularly the thing that most people in my lifetime talk to me about. And that's 40-something years ago.
Has anything ever happened with it? Because I don't feel like I've heard of it since.
No, it was one of those things. I think it's like Merrily, we shut it down, even though we could have got it on. It felt like a kind of a moment. It just felt like that was the right moment for it. And it didn't have the kind of political angle it would have now with what's going on in Palestine and Israel. And
yeah,
it's like the world seems to be more awake because of social media to all different sort of sections of society and have all these opinions about them. It was very simple in its premise, which was just tell this story about this moment in this ghetto with incredible actors. I mean, like sort of jaw-droppingly good actors. And I was just this little thing in them learning every second from everybody, in awe of everybody on stage. I was like, I can't actually believe I'm in this thing. But this is an interesting thing because I didn't know about my background because, as I said, my dad, we never had a Jewish background.
Yeah.
My dad had left and my mum and dad were separated. So I wasn't brought up by my dad. And he came to see it without me knowing. And I got a letter from him in my dressing room saying, your ancestors love and thank you for keeping their story alive. And I had no idea because that's where what part of my family came from. So I didn't know.
Oh my God.
So when I did the job, there was sort of this deep connection to the material, Caroline. I was like, why am I feeling so much? But it was my family and I didn't know.
Wow. Gosh.
Yeah.
That kind of innate sense of this means a huge amount.
Yeah, it's the chords. Look at all the music I love. I mean, 98% of it is written by Jewish people.
Yeah.
If you just go straight across the gamut of the greatest songwriters for musical theatre, I think it's changed now. It's changed entirely. But it's that kind of life and history and the chords, the keys that the things are set in. E flat, my favourite key, the best.
That sounds incredible. So, having had all this incredible experience with those shows that we've already talked about, your relationship with Stephen Sondheim, his work that you've gone into so much depth with, what would you say is the secret of a good piece of musical theatre?
Story, character, story, character. Story, end of. Yeah, it's got to be. And the story needs to be motivated by the character. Or the character motivated by the story. They're inextricable. For me, it's all about the detail in the story. That's it. Obviously, each thing is different. You can have musicals with great catchy hit songs. That's one sort of musical. For me, it's all about psychology and subtext and the human condition that has to be attached to something I can identify with. I want it to be universal. I don't want audience to look as if we're looking at specimens on a stage that have got nothing to do with me. For me, a musical has to be that the people in the audience are surprised, constantly surprised, and catch themselves seeing themselves.
I love that.
I don't want a polemic. I don't want somebody telling me, educating me. I want to be surprised at what I discover.
I love that. I love that. With regards to Merrily, and I feel like there has been a version of Merrily. So Merrily is a story that is a fabulous story of three friends, but it goes backwards from sort of the end of their friendship to the beginning of their friendship at college. And they all go on the same journey backwards together. There has been a version where they did it from beginning to end, I think. And I wonder what you think that version of the story would have been like to watch and how...
Boring! Boring! That's just dreadful. Happy people who turn into fuckwits. No, it doesn't work at all because what you're doing, it's like you're gathering clues all the way back where you're going, oh no, but it's too late, they've done it. But you're literally, as the audience went backwards, you could actually hear them audibly going, oh, that's why. And oh no, it's a gathering of information that you kind of go, what, how?
It's so fascinating, isn't it? Because, like you say, the story and the characters are the same front to back as they would be back to front. But the impact on the audience is so much more devastating because of where they've been to where they start.
Yeah, hope. It's all about hope. Also, our version that we made, everyone can think whatever they want, but the whole point of these questions, how did you get to be here? And some roads are tough and some are bumpy, and take a look at the countryside as you're traveling. These are beautiful, gentle reminders that we can all reset, that they're only 40 by the time it finishes. This is not the end of their life. It's right in the middle, bang in the middle, where introspection is going to allow people to take a step forward in a different direction if they take some responsibility about their actions in the world.
Yeah.
As long as you do that, to the day you die, you can reset. You can reset. Doesn't mean to say the past isn't difficult. It doesn't mean to say you haven't made some mistakes. We all have. But the reality is that you can reset. And therefore, there is hope. There's absolute hope, because what you begin to see as you go along is the fundamental spirit and souls of these people are good. They got lost.
Yeah.
They got lost.
Mike's first show in London was Our House. And that was a little bit, how did you get to be here? But you see both journeys of the choices that one character makes. I don't know if you saw it, but it was either he gives himself up to the police or he runs, and what both those trajectories happen to be.
What a brilliant premise.
Oh, it's Tim Firth who wrote it, and it was absolutely
Brilliant.
genius premise. But like merrily, you feel like when you get to the beginning, at the end, maybe there is a version of it where different choices were made, and that was just one universe that we've just watched, hopefully.
And how old is he when he reaches the end?
In Our House, I think he's about 25. He starts at 16.
So there's choices, right?
Yeah, lots of choices.
There's choices. But also, I think the whole thing about Meryl is we all make mistakes. Charlie is as guilty as Frank is. The moral of the whole thing is be mindful of the little things and of people that you love. Be careful. Be careful of them. That's it. Because we are going to make mistakes, but you need to not be alone, like Gussie at the end. You need to have friends.
How much of it was in your head from having been in it? Obviously, because you get a deeper understanding, don't you, of a musical?
None. I mean, obviously the part of Mary, but when you're playing a part, you don't know what's going on. You're in your dressing room changing or having a chat in the wings. No idea. It's not your job to have an idea about the whole. Absolutely none. And I was really surprised it was about Frank. I had no idea. I thought it was about Mary because that's who I played. Yeah. When I opened the script, I was like, this is about Frank. That's how I got the vision of making it about Frank and starting it off with Frank, because that's not in the script. The script is, everybody comes on and it's everyone and you don't know who anybody is. So I cleared the decks and just brought Frank on and made it through his perspective as a memory piece, as if he was having a breakdown at that point. And, if you did it in film, you'd spiral and then you'd go back to him at that point with the book. But we do it in 2 hours. So yeah, no, none except for obviously working with George and Steve. I realised how funny it was because they're funny.
Yeah.
They're funny people.
Sometimes we make that mistake of, because it's Stephen Sondheim, it's serious, but there is so much lightness and wit and acerbic joy in his pieces, isn't there?
Well, he only writes love songs. That's all he writes. So you start with love and laughter and everything else is taken care of because he's a genius. You don't have to be the genius. He's already done that. We fill in the gaps with our hearts and our wit. He said to me many, many times, and with tears in his eyes, why doesn't everybody understand all I do is write love songs? And if you look at any single one, it's about wanting love, missing love, hoping for it, love of light, love of painting, love of art, love of buildings, it's just about love, all about love. And that can take a trillion different routes, but it's not cold and it is not, you use the word acerbic. Our behavior sometimes can be sharp, but it's led by loss. It's led by vulnerability. It's not led because you're a bitch. You're saying nasty, every single lyric I can think of, any lyric I can think of is full of soul, not coldness.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Which musical out of all the musicals in the whole world, which would you go to when you're having a really crap day? You need cheering up, you need something just to make you feel nourished and complete again. Is there a musical that you put on the record player or CD player or stream it or go and see it?
I can't say there is one, honestly, Caroline. I think they change. I think it changes. What's yours?
Light in the Piazza.
Oh, of course. And you were in it and loved every second of it.
Yeah, I saw it before I was in it and adored it. It was another one where I was sobbing. In the interval, I was sobbing. Not because it was sad, because it was so good.
So beautiful.
The effect it had on me.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I've gone and seen a musical I haven't enjoyed and it's put me in a bad mood, I'll put that on and I literally feel my ears relax.
Oh, how wonderful. I should try it. I haven't done it. I have not done that.
It's a good idea. It helps sometimes.
It's a very good idea. I'll do that in future and I'll let you know.
I love that. I love that, Maria. So thank you for answering all my questions. I watched this lovely interview you did with Jonathan Groff in New York.
Oh, my friend.
And it is that thing, isn't it, of we never really get to talk like this.
No, we don't.
When we're working, it's about the work. So to have an hour and a half with you nattering away about showbiz is utterly joyful. Thank you very much.
It's very lovely. It's very lovely. And I'll tell you what was so nice is that I think we're not allowed to feel good about what we do a lot. You know, in America, you are. If you're in musical theatre, you are revered and respected and cherished. And in this country, we're kind of the poor sisters of proper theatre. And spending time in the States revitalised my deep, deep sense of pride about what we do, how much it impacts people, what a deep gratitude I have that I've spent my life getting on planes with just these chords and maybe some music, like to do concerts, or walking through a stage door to tell a story at night time to a lot of people who've travelled all together to share in that. I mean, what a privilege. That's what I feel. I feel I was given a kind of golden ticket to do what I do with my life.
I feel exactly the same. And I think what I also love is that there is this passing on of influence and this mentorship. And I know that, you know, like you say, you did Ghetto and you learnt from all these incredible people. And I think you do that on every job, don't you? You meet people and you learn from them, whether they're older or younger or anything.
Every job.
And when it comes to you, when I worked with you, what I saw was a woman who wasn't afraid to ask questions. And when you said that earlier, I thought that's exactly what I was going to say to you. But also they were the right questions with the right intention. I saw you in rehearsals for Witches of Eastwick asking the composer, the lyricist, the director, incredible questions, challenging them on choices. And that's always made me go, I can do that. I can ask those questions. We don't have to be these quiet people who have to do what we're told.
Yeah, and guess what? Dana and John are still really great friends. They weren't intimidated by it.
No.
They liked it because it means I love their work. And so you're trying to get in there for them, not for you, for them,
Yeah.
you know, so that I can get what they've written out and understand it. And I think, you know, there are horses and courses. There are certain people who want their actors just to do what they're told and, you know, march forward. But the work that we do, Caroline, you and I, and we've been lucky enough to do, creating roles, working, I would say 85% of my life has been with living composers, living writers.
Yeah.
Which means that you have, you know, a fair set of flops because there are few that really can stand the test of time. But I would rather that than come in and be a factory worker. So I didn't choose to do this to just stand on one. They have numbers, don't they? When I'm directing it, my poor choreographers, I said, I don't want numbers. They're like, you've got to have numbers. I don't want numbers. I want people to feel it. We always end up with numbers in them because they're like, but it's like, I never had numbers. I know where I'm going. But anyway, it's quite fun. Yeah.
But I just wanted to thank you for being that person I saw on the television, absolutely nailing I Happen to Love New York, to then being a wonderful person to work with and a great supporter and someone who I consider a friend and who is also just paving the way, like the way you've made this transition into being a director, as well as continuing to act and sing and perform and do your cabarets is phenomenal and inspirational. And thank you very much. What is next next for you, Maria? Is there something we can look out for that's coming next? What's going on?
Well, it's so interesting. I've just finished a film where I was in it with Kiefer Sutherland and Rebel Wilson, which is coming out at Christmas. So I'm kind of combining that. And then I have got 10 projects, one of which I'm going off to do now, which is we're making a new version of that brilliant film.
Oh, I don't think I know it.
Oh my God, go and see the film. It's really a startlingly brilliant film. So as I leave you, I'm going off now to interview various people in various stages. Yeah, and then I'm not sure I can mention all these names of titles, but I will tell you. Yeah, so we're making that into a musical.
Oh.
Then I'm doing an amazing American book. I'm directing in spring.
Oh my gosh, that's massive.
It's massive.
I'm probably not allowed to put that in the podcast, are we?
I've made a new version of which had to go through all the lawyers and everything to get signed off. So we're doing that. I can't even remember the other ones, but anyway.
Crikey, Maria, you're so busy.
I've got a twitch in my eye, actually twitching at the thought of it, because it's so weird making the stories and then directing. So I've changed from just taking a story to making the story.
And finding the stories to tell.
Yeah.
And the right people to tell them.
Yeah. It's, I can't remember what the other ones are, but there's a lot. There's like 10 on the slate.
I love it. At this point in the podcast, I will go, she reeled off 10 projects that I'm not allowed to talk to you about.
I think that's right. The thing is that you know this, is that they're all in different, so they're like seeds, little shoots, things that are slightly further on, but hopefully what will happen is over the next few years, it will take years, they'll start to come up at the right time. But you have to have that many because probably only half of them will happen.
Yeah.
You'll make them all. And then some, it will be casting dependent. Yeah, which is the depressing thing. At the moment, we've got all the money for completely 100% capitalized with American producers, and we can't get one of the A-list stars to sign off on it. So we can't get them. If they said yes, we're done. And if they don't say yes, they won't do it. It's too expensive to do. It's too expensive to make.
So have you got a place out there, Maria?
Well, they rent me a place every time I go there. So different producers, but I stay in the same flat and then they pay for it.
You ask for the same place. Lovely. Oh.
If it's free, yeah.
Thank you, Maria. You're an absolute legend. It's lovely to catch up and talk to you.
It's so nice to speak to you. I'm so impressed, Caroline. You're very good at this. Isn't she good?
Am I?
Yeah, you're really good.
Gosh, I honestly, like you say, leading with what I know and what I love. So opening doors and all that.
But you're really authentic, which is so lovely.
Thank you.
And without being gushy. It's like not showbiz. You're not showbiz, but you're showbiz.
I do have to have a word with myself sometimes.
Oh no, but it's beautiful. It's a good balance, Caroline. It really, really is. Really is. I wish you so much luck.
Thank you, Maria.
Yeah. Edit me out so I sound clever, please, and not too earnest. I sound so fucking earnest all the time, and I'm not as a human being. I'm actually quite playful, but the minute I start talking about this, I'm like, I would just want to switch off. I'd be like, oh.
No, not at all. No one will be switching off. Well, huge thanks to Maria for being my first guest on Talk Musicals to Me. I really hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you so much for listening today. This has been Talk Musicals to Me for the Bloop Network. My fabulous producer is Aaron Ware, and the music you heard is from the pen of the sublime Tom Self. If you get a moment, please subscribe or follow and rate the podcast by clicking the stars below on the podcast page. It takes about 2 seconds to do, and it will really help the podcast and its future life and would make us massively, eternally, enormously grateful. In the meantime, another huge thanks for tuning in, and please do so again next time to see who will be next up to Talk Musicals to Me.